Believe in Yourself, Podcast 9. Now that we have dealt with the three dimensions of self, the mind, the emotions, and the behavioral self, the body, and we've dealt with the attacks to those three dimensions of self, the thought attacks, the emotional attacks, and the body attacks. Now we're ready to live fully. How do we do that? There are two main foundation emotions in life, and they are love and fear. Love leads to all the positive emotions. Fear leads to all the negative emotions. The positive emotions are, if I feel loved, then I want to love others. I become a giver. I become happy. I compliment others, and I feel positive. If I live in fear, and I fear others, and I fear the other shoe will drop at any given time, then I become a taker. I become depressed. I become angry, and I become negative. Why is anger sourced in fear? If I make an appointment with a client, and I say to the client, let's meet at 3 o'clock, and the client comes at 7 p.m., and I come to the door and I say, I'm angry with you. Why did you come at 7 o'clock? My anger is coming in fear, is coming from fear. Why? Because I'm saying to the client, we made an appointment at 3 o'clock. You came at 7 o'clock. I feel that you don't value me. So my anger is coming from fear that I don't feel valued or accepted, or I believe that the client does not feel like my time is worth anything. Therefore, my anger is coming from my inner fear that I have a lack of value, lack of worth, lack of self-esteem. Anger comes from fear. Love, on the other hand, comes from a sense of feeling valued. If I feel valued and positive, then I can answer the client and say, oh, you came at 7 o'clock? Are you okay? Are you feeling okay with yourself? Did you have a flat tire? I hope everything's okay. If I live with love and I love myself, then I'm able to turn to my friend, to my client and say, Willie, I'm so sorry. I can't see you right now at 7 o'clock, but we can make another appointment. I won't lash out in anger because I feel good about myself. I feel loved. I love myself. My love is not dependent on somebody else. I have self-love, self-compassion, and therefore I have to feel a sense of self-love in order to feel good about myself, to interact with others in a positive fashion. So anytime you get anger from somebody, whether it's your spouse or a child, it's because they are feeling devalued. Instead of getting angry at their anger, our job is to feel valued, to value them, and understand that their anger is coming from a sense of being devalued. And our job is to understand, to be compassionate with their anger and say, it seems like you're angry right now. It seems like you're upset right now. Tell me what's going on. What's happening here? I'm so sorry you're upset. But if I am threatened by their anger, then I am living in fear. The Torah tells us a statement in Devarim. It says, Vachai bahem, live by them. Living with fear is not living. Living with trepidation, worry, and stress is not a full way of living. Vachai bahem, live with the precepts. Live with a Torah way of life. Live with Torah way of thinking. That is an approach of living with love. I believe that Judaism is not a religion. Judaism is a system for personal growth. The very fact that the Torah tells us that we can live with love, achai b'hem, live life, enjoy life, be positive with life, love yourself. In fact, the Torah tells us, v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself. What happens if you don't love yourself? I'll only love my neighbor as much as I love myself. So if I don't love myself, how can I love my neighbor? And the Pirkei Avos, the Ethics of the Fathers, tells us you have to not look at yourself in a negative light. Al tiara be'enei atzmecha. Do not be evil in your own eyes. Be positive. And therefore, we have to be able to be positive with ourselves. Now, we all know the famous statement by Hillel in the Ethics of the Fathers, chapter 1, Mishnah 14. He says, Im ein ani li mi li. If I'm not for myself, who will be for me? Im ein ani li mi li. If I'm not for myself, who will be for me? The question is asked, why are there two words for me? Ani is I, and li is me. What is the difference between my I and my li, my me? The answer is my me is made up of my intellect, my social skill, my intellect, my heart, my emotions, and my actions. That's the me, that's the li. But there's something higher than the li, than the me. That is my ani, my I self, my soul self. My soul is my will. And when God believes in me, and I believe that that's why when we have a relationship with God, we understand that it's not a religious obligation. It's not a religious connection with God. It's a spiritual connection with God. That God believes in you. That God believes in me because he has given me a part of himself. And we go back to the Wheel of Strengths in podcast number 3. We talk about the Wheel of Strengths and the personality. Your personality, whether it is consistency, perseverance, leadership, whether it is truthfulness, compassion, whether it is empathy, whether it is honesty, whether it is giving, patience, creativity, forgiving, or resilience, all of those are attributes of God. God breathed those into you. That's not a religious concept. That's a concept of spirituality, that God has a relationship with you. And if you have a belief in God, a relationship with God, then you have a belief in yourself. So believing in God means believing in yourself. Emunah means intellectual belief in God. I understand that there's a God. Bitachon, or trust in God, means I believe in the God who believes in me. Believing in God is an intellectual exercise. I believe in the God who created the universe. But an emotional dimension of a relationship with God is I believe in the God who believes in me. That's bitachon. That is, I am certain that God believes in me. And he believes in you because he gave you a wheel of strengths. He gave you an emotional connection to God. And he gave you the behavioral ability to focus on your circle of control. Lastly, let's talk about choosing life. Choose life. In our understanding in psychology, we have sub-personalities. Each of us right now, if you are a male, you are a son, you are a brother, if you have a brother or sister, you are a father, you are a friend, you are perhaps an employer or a co-worker. All of these dimensions of self exist. You have all of them. But right now you are operating as client or student or fellow learner. You're not operating right now as my brother, although we're all brothers and sisters amongst the Jewish people. And we're all members of the world. Especially under these circumstances, the pandemic, we feel connected to the entire world. We're all facing this together. We're all part of the family of the world. But we have a unique part of the family, the unique tribe called the Jewish people, the Jewish family. We feel connected to them. But right now, you're not acting as a brother. If you are a woman, then you are a daughter. You may be a sister. You may be a mother. You may be a friend, an employer, or co-worker. All of these things happen at the same time. But right now, in here, you're only choosing to operate as one of them. Right now, you're choosing to operate as client, friend, co-learner. We're learning together. But you're not choosing to operate as a son right now to me. You're choosing to operate in your mind, choosing to place inside your consciousness that dimension of relationship, which is called learner, participant, friend, client. So too then with our moods. We have many moods in life. We have happiness, sadness, anxiousness, depression, frustration, and motivation. Just like we are choosing our relationship, so too, the Torah tells us, we can choose our mood. We can choose to either be happy, sad, anxious, depressed, frustrated, or motivated. The choice is ours. And therefore, a Jewish concept of uvacharta b'chaim, choose life, means you have the power of choice. Choice means you have free will. The best thing that God gave us in life is free will. You can choose to be positive. You can choose to overcome this challenge. Choose to look at the positives. By doing what? By choosing to focus on the self. You have the cognitive abilities. You have the emotional abilities. And you have the physical abilities to handle this challenge. When all three are aligned and you choose to place your sense of self here, in this mindset, just as you choose which relationship to have at a given point in time, so too you can choose happiness. Well, you'll say, I don't feel like being happy right now. I feel like being nervous. That is your choice. You can choose anxiety. You could choose depression. You could choose sadness or frustration. But you can also choose to focus on your mind, your social skills, your emotional self, and your behavioral self, and then choose life, choose positivity. The choice is ours. So therefore in Judaism, we are understanding that free will is up to us. God has given us free will. And therefore if we exercise our free will, that's not a religious concept. That's a spiritual concept to say, I have the power given to me by God to choose how to handle this challenge. And when God gives us life, he also says to you and to us, I believe in you. I believe you can handle this challenge. And that's why believing in yourself, the name of this 9-part series, this podcast series of Believe in Yourself, means that you believe in yourself because God believes in you. And if God believes in you, then you're entitled, you're allowed, and you're obligated to believe in yourself. You can handle this challenge.